Welcome back to the Aiming Five Hole podcast. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, Ryan and I couldn't do our normal episode before the Stanley Cup Finals, but we're back. And Ryan, have you recovered from the collapse of Game 5 in Carolina that we both experienced?
Yes. And there's so much I want to say about that. I will say our absence last week, contrary to popular belief in the online rumor will, was not me falling into a deep depression and having to go for inpatient help.
You didn't like my Brian Wilson comment that you had to couldn't get out of bed?
I was able to get out of bed. We did have, but our break was my fault, and I apologize to everybody. But we are good to go. I have recovered. For those of you who are, by the way, looking for me on TV in Carolina, I apologize. I couldn't find my white jersey anywhere, and so I was wearing red along with everybody else. So you weren't gonna find me. However,
ask me about that.
Oh, really?
We posted the photos of us. I posted the photos of us, and you were in a red jersey.
Like, he's wearing red.
And a couple people said, "What happened to the white jersey?" So at least some people are watching, and we appreciate our loyal listeners coming back and viewers. So appreciate it.
Yeah,
but we're back.
By the way, we probably did end up on TV a time or two because we were sitting just in front of the owner's box with Justin Williams and Tom Dundon and Eric Tulsky. By the way,
we were the ones hanging our heads after each goal.
Yes, exactly. We did get a chance to meet Mr. Tulsky very briefly in the parking lot. He's a really nice guy, and a guy who walks around the tailgate, and we'll talk about that in a second, in Carolina, to greet fans before the games and say hi to people. Really impressive guy. I wish him and the Carolina Hurricanes all the luck in the Stanley Cup Final, and we'll talk about that in a bit too.
Yeah.
But how about that Carolina hockey experience, Phil? It is so different.
It's unique. It's so different because the arena is on the same property as the NC State football stadium, the college football stadium, and it's in the middle of basically nowhere. There's no restaurants.
Suburbia.
It's no restaurants or bars in the vicinity. So basically, it turns into an NFL or college style tailgate party with people with barbecues and coolers of beer. It was a great hockey experience. It was amazing.
Forget coolers of beer. We saw people with full bars set up.
Absolutely. It was cool.
And it was very
good
cool.
Hour and a half before the game. We were there almost 2 hours before the game, and the parking lot was jammed, and it was hopping music and people having fun.
Yeah.
And it was very reminiscent of an NFL or college football game. And I've been to both and tailgate parties for both. So good on Carolina. It was a great experience.
Yeah, and a shout out to the three guys from St. Leonard that we met, who drove down from Montreal, 14 hours. I think that by the smell of things, I think they wore their Habs jerseys all the way down.
I think they did. They might have slept in them.
I think they slept in them. But we caught up with them in the parking lot, fresh off a 14-hour drive just before the game. And I think their expenses all in, including their tickets to the game, were cheaper than 3 tickets to a game at the Bell Center in the regular season.
Yeah, I'm sure. So easier to get, I'm sure. That's for
easier
sure
to get too. So it was great. It was a great experience. Horrible outcome. The Canadians were outclassed in every facet of the game, and they're going to be back. That's all I have to say about it. Really, they're going to be back.
So
I think that you learn. You just learn. You live and you learn.
Great young core. Great team, but as you say, outclassed. The tenacity, the forecheck of Carolina was just relentless. They couldn't get enough shots on net, and that D at Carolina and that forecheck just smothered them from all aspects. But let's skip over the series because we all saw it and saw what happened. But I guess my biggest question for you is, they're so close. Great young core, all signed for long term at good prices and good AAVs and salaries and whatnot. So what do you think they need to get over the hump? Because they've clearly now taken the mantle in Canada as Canada's best team. They've taken it from Edmonton. Toronto's in disaster. Vancouver's in a disaster. Calgary's in a rebuild. Who knows what's going on in Winnipeg? And Ottawa is probably the closest to them at this point now.
Yeah, so, Ottawa's going to be good next year.
So what do they need to take that next step and bring the cup back to Canada?
Okay, well, the conventional wisdom is they need a second line offensive center to play with
Just happens
Demidov.
to be one that just requested a trade.
Yes, and we'll talk about that later. They need a right side D, and they may not be patient enough to wait for David Reinbacher to be that, or they may decide let's let's not trade for that at the draft. See if Reinbacher's ready in the fall. Despite his injuries and the corresponding blows to his development and delays to his development. We'll see how that goes. And then apparently, Hughes and Gorton feel that they needed a power winger because apparently
so.
they almost came within 1 minute of pulling off a trade for Matthew Nyes,
which is incredible and mind-boggling to me that Trey Leaving was willing to give up on Nyes. Well, I guess saying give up on him. They were going to get 2 first-rounders, the Russian young prospect,
Zorowski could be a
another
star.
prospect in return. And you sent me the post that there's been comments from Hughes that he said that his comment to Trey Leaving was, if you get fired, you don't get fired before the summer, you have to honor this trade. Well, Trey Leaving got fired, and maybe that's one of the reasons why he got fired is that the Leafs don't want to give up on Nyes. He's such a unique talent. Those big power forwards don't grow on trees. Neither do second line centers. So, but
they don't. So did they need to trade all of those assets away for a winger as opposed to a center? I think maybe that trade not happening was the best thing for both teams, especially given the fact that Toronto won the lottery.
Yeah.
And now they might be able to retool on the fly, getting someone like Gavin McKenna. Maybe you're happy you kept somebody like Nyes. And I think if the Canadians are considering trading a couple of first-round draft picks, with a Dylan Larkin available, although I think Larkin might be a year or two older than what they would ideally target.
Because Larkin's been in the league 10 years now. I think it's 10 years, and him now requesting the trade. He's the first of the Steve Yzerman plan to give up on the Steve Yzerman plan, right? So that and signal that, hey, look, this ain't working. I want out. I want a fresh start. I want to go somewhere. And is the mix right for Montreal? Like, you look at the teams that are probably lining up for him. It's, Montreal, Minnesota, and they have, Wallstat, one of the things Detroit could probably use is a long time goaltender, a first string goaltender. And, now Wallstat's injured and has had hip surgery this offseason. So already, so will he be ready for the fall? But, Minnesota could give up him, Boston, Chicago, Buffalo, Anaheim, San Jose, teams that are close, like Anaheim, San Jose, and Buffalo, all close, like Montreal, close to making that next step, all could use a second line center. The bidding for Larkin could pretty be interesting if all those teams, including Minnesota, is in there. So those 4 teams, all close to that next step, needing an experienced second line center, Larkin could fit that bill.
Yeah, absolutely. But Larkin has a lot of power here, right? Because he's got full no movement.
And I don't see him wanting to go to a Canadian team. Though it'd be interesting to see if he said yes.
Right? Especially, a team like Montreal is an exciting team that fits directly and perfectly into the style of play he prefers. It's very up-tempo, relies on speed, which he has in spades, even at 31. The question is, if they trade Larkin, and we can come back to all this later, what do they do with DeBrincat? Because are you tearing things down at this point? But so the Canadians, they need a couple more pieces. They need a little bit more of what Josh Anderson and Arbor Xhekaj bring.
But they didn't use Xhekaj, and Xhekaj is one of your restricted free agents. They didn't use Xhekaj at the end, and we both question this. They didn't use Xhekaj, and they didn't use Gallagher, and Gallagher has been forthwith in the last week or two of saying, I've played my last game for Montreal. And it's not him saying, I'm giving up on the team. It's pretty much the team saying to him, going, you can go look for a trade. He's got another year left on his contract, or 2 years left on his contract.
That's $6 million.
So they've said, you can go look for a trade. We're happy if you go somewhere else and offload that salary. And maybe if they offload his salary, bringing in a Dylan Larkin is doable.
Well, it's doable. It's doable because you're letting Laine go. Laine was on for $8 million or whatever it was. So, look, I think I think Montreal has a lot of things they need to figure out, right? Number one, are you bringing back Bolduc and Kirby Doc? Obviously, I think you have to do that.
And Veleno
Um,
is a
and
restricted free
Veleno,
agent.
I honestly, I think there are a lot of guys like that you can find.
Right.
Jackeye, I think they still think of Jackeye as a young guy who's still learning. And guys like that who skate like he does, but bring the violence like he does too, like you said about Knives, they don't come around every day. And I think they'd like to see if they can get, he's a 5'6" guy. He'll never be more than a 5'6" guy, but he could be a very valuable 5'6" guy.
Yeah. He's
it's
just
a
got to
real
be happy
shame
with maybe not playing 82 games and maybe not playing in every playoff game the way he did this year. And the question is,
or he's got to improve to the point where he can be trusted
right.
to play.
But if he doesn't get to that step and they don't trade him and they keep him, is he
Yeah.
going to be happy in that system where he's being the fifth or sixth guy and maybe twice a week or once a week he's being scratched, healthy
Right.
scratched, and as they try to bring up some of their younger talent, that is a big question mark. But look, this team is so close, young talented team, and hey, look at great run, congratulations, and
Yeah.
hey, on to
Yeah.
next year in the draft.
On to next year in the draft, I do want to take 1 minute to say thank you to Brandon Gallagher for an absolutely tremendous career as a Montreal Canadian. I'm sad he didn't hit the 1,000 game mark in his career as a Hab.
Yep.
So many great moments from him, including obviously when he got his face bashed in and didn't get the penalty call against Tampa in the finals in 21. Just a warrior in every. I know you've had your thoughts about him because you compare him to Marchand.
Hey, he's like that type of player you hate to
he's a
play
pest.
against, but you'd love to have him on your team. But he's a pest. He can walk that line like
Uh,
Marchand. He steps over it quite a few times. So hey, look, but he's had a great career. He's
yeah,
been the heartbeat of Montreal for a few years now, and hey, great career. And
yeah,
we'll see where he goes.
yeah,
He's one of those guys that could go and play in Vancouver. Maybe he's a guy that could bring some grit to Edmonton for a season or two on the
yeah.
bottom six. Who knows? But
He's
he's
a
a guy
leader
that, yeah, he could be a guy that could add something that sandpaper that you might need, especially during the playoffs. And
and culture.
yeah, and culture. And I'll still say it. I'm shocked that and Montreal, especially in the last two games, didn't bring him in for that because it
Yeah,
was clearly something they needed in the end, and they didn't bring him in. And there must be
yeah,
a reason for that. But you know what? I'm
yeah.
sure we'll hear a little bit more of it as we go along. But
Yeah.
great
All right, let's
season.
take a minute about Let's take a couple minutes on Colorado here because they also deserve a
A few
farewell,
minutes. Yeah.
given they were the President's Trophy winners yet again, have
And the
not
curse
advanced.
lives
So
on since
the curse lives on.
2013. The Chicago
Yeah,
Blackhawks, the last team to win the President's Trophy and win the Stanley Cup playoffs. But what a disaster at the end. Like they rolled through the Kings. Which maybe or maybe not was impressive, but it was great. They rolled over Minnesota, which was the impressive part. They
uh-huh.
were rolling so well through Minnesota, played so great, scored. They just looked like they were hitting on all cylinders, and all of a sudden they walk up against Vegas, and not many people were giving Vegas a hope, and they
Well,
just went
all of
flat.
the analysts, all of the studio analysts, all of them on ESPN called that series before it started for Vegas,
Well,
which shocked us, right?
yeah,
Shocked us.
I
But
didn't see them calling it all, but
uh,
I saw some of the others calling it for Colorado.
yeah, so they knew something we didn't. But there were a couple of things that I took out of this series that I found pretty interesting. Number one, the Mackenzie Blackwood Scott Wedgwood uh, pairing did not get them to where they needed to be at the end.
No,
You
but
expected it would, but it didn't.
yeah, but I don't wouldn't say
The
goaltending was the fault.
No, I don't think
Did
so.
they make the key saves necessarily where they needed to make? No, especially in game
No.
two and three. But in four, even in game four, Blackwood played really well. But yeah, we always said it. The goaltending was going to be their Achilles heel, but I don't think that was ended up being Achilles heel. I think injuries, and they all of a sudden went flat.
Well, they went flat in
They
a
went
weird way. Like
well,
it wasn't flat it just felt like the pressure was getting to them. And you could say the same thing about Montreal, as the pressure was getting to them. And the pressure for Colorado was, they were supposed to win it all. So, and I read a really interesting article from a Denver sports journalist. I can't remember his name, that said, if Nathan MacKinnon can't dial down his intensity a little bit, they're not ever going to win another Stanley Cup. And maybe that's the reason why Gabriel Landeskog is the captain of this team, right? Like Nathan MacKinnon's leadership has to be in question a little bit when he's smashing sticks on the bench and over the crossbar, and he's, you're not making your teammates relax when you're, the second or
adversity
best player
hits.
in the world, and adversity hits and you're losing your cool.
Right.
That tightens everybody up. And the Colorado Avalanche played like a tight team after game one.
Right.
They really, really did.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with anything you said there. I think the big thing was Makar getting injured at the end of the Minnesota series.
Yeah,
and
that certainly
their
didn't help.
game changed with his fortunes. Like it was really relevant when they hit the Vegas series that Makar's injury was more serious than we realized, and you're now getting reports and suggestions that he might miss the beginning of next season because of this injury, which means like he played through some serious issues, and their game just changed because it flows through him right from their own end, right through to the other through the offensive zone. And when he wasn't there to move the puck, they were lacking the ability and the right matchups in the back end. There's only so many things Tegs could do. Brent Burns showed that he was 38, and I feel bad for Brent Burns because I thought this was going to be the year that he would be able to ride off into retirement and be like Bork or Andrechuk and win it and say, I'm gone and I'm see you later. So it would have been a great story. I feel bad for him. But I think the big question marks for this team are okay, where do they do next? This is now the oldest team in the NHL. They trade away a lot of draft capital and a lot of their valuable assets to have a winner and a winner now, right? They have the second least amount of cap space going into next year in terms of any 32 teams. So they've got very little room. So how do they do that? They've just lost their GM and their architect of this. So McFarland has moved on to Nashville to take over the presidency and the GM-ship of the Nashville Predators. And Joe Sakic is coming back from just being president to being GM to get them through the draft.
For the foreseeable future.
For the foreseeable future. Yeah, it's too late to hire somebody now before the draft. So what does this mean for this team, and what do they do? Where do they go for them from now? Because if this team couldn't win, what do they do going forward? And I don't think we have the answers here, and they're old, right? And the window's not closed.
You take Brent Burns off the roster, and their average age goes down by 3 years across the team.
Yeah, but he was only getting paid like $1 million. He took the minimum, like close to the minimum. So you're not freeing up cap space, and they don't have cap space.
Oh no, I'm not talking about freeing up cap space. I'm just saying that.
But who do you replace them with?
By average, they are the oldest team in the league. But that's because they have a 38-year-old player. I think they're not that old, and their core is
Brock
still
Nelson's
at their very
35. Peak. You've got.
Brock Nelson's not a core piece.
Landeskog's in his 30s. McKinnon's in his early 30s now. So you are in today's NHL, and you look San Jose, Anaheim in the face, and they're 22, 23 average age, and you're close to 30 or over 30 average. That's a big difference.
I guess. Look. Are you saying that nobody should trade for Connor McDavid then?
No, I'm not.
He's going to be 30.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just suggesting that this team was built to win now.
Yeah, and look, their window is 2 or 3 more years.
If they can keep them all together, and how do you fill in around it when you don't have draft capital, and you can't do it through free agency because you might not have the cap. Might have the cap space in order to do it. Yes, the cap's going up. So is everybody else's, and so going into next year,
they have to. What they have to do is they've got to do it the Florida way. They have to reclaim some people with a lot of, a lot of talent that just didn't work out and are playing on cheap contracts, and make hay out of that. Right. You need like the Sam Bennett type that you can play for 3-4 years before you re-sign him.
Yeah. Well, but. we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Like Joe Sakic, I have faith in Joe Sakic. He's done it before.
Yeah, yeah. Look at people want to go play there because they're, to your point, they got another couple of years of a good playoff window with great players, a great foundation there. Two of the greatest players, one of the probably the best defensemen, and one of the best forwards in the league. So
Yeah.
people want to go there and play. Can they bring the guys? And it's not a deep free agency year this year. Free agency is not solid, so they might have to do it through some trades and trade things.
Yeah.
The interesting piece was Kadri. I thought Kadri had a really poor round against the Western Conference Final. He went missing in that Western.
I thought he
Conference
was
final.
up and down. I thought he had some good moments. He had more bad moments, but I thought he was a little up. Look, during the conference final, you can't have up and down. You got to be consistently great.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about the two teams that were consistently great and are playing like it's the preseason in some ways.
It's a bizarro Stanley Cup final. Bizarro.
This is the weirdest.
Blown leads, big leads, blown leads, defensive breakdowns, and way more goals than I think anybody. I think it was 25 goals scored in the first 3 games, which way more the over way over the over than anybody expected.
Oh yeah, it's like the most in 30 years or something like that.
Crazy.
The other thing I would say about that is I've never seen so many overturned goals in a Stanley Cup final. It's just been
all
crazy.
Right decision though. But yeah, I think that
not a single bad decision.
If you didn't have instant replay, that game last night would have been out of control and three goals that shouldn't have counted. So
So Carolina, for large stretches of the first 3 games, has played like they played in the first period of Game 1 against Montreal when they went down 4-1 after one period. Like the number of odd man rushes that you're seeing, and then on the flip side, the number of defensive pinches that Vegas is being successful on and picking off outlet passes at the blue line and then skating in unopposed for a shot on goal.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. I rewatched the condensed versions of all 3 games before this because I wanted to make sure we talked cogently about all 3 games, and 2 of them are already kind of in the distant memory. So I rewatched those, like, if you had watched condensed games from the first bunch of series or rounds of the series, they would not have been nearly as exciting as this because it was just odd man rush after breakaway, and then defensive breakdowns on this game. This series was all supposed to be forecheck versus forecheck, and who was going to make a lot of defensive zone turnovers from the hash marks down to behind the net. And all of the goal replays that we're seeing are everything but that.
Well, I think that, a lot of the experts also said that one of the things you can catch Carolina with, and this has been true, they're so ferocious on the forecheck, and their defense try to hold the blue line, because that's what it is. If they can get you down low, they can turn over pucks, and if they don't turn over pucks, they're forcing the D to make wild shots around the boards and trying to catch, and the defense are trying to catch them. So what we're seeing is that in some cases, and there's been a couple of them where, and I'll name them, Marner has thrown a backhand flip out of the zone, not trying to make a pass, and Howden down the ice gathers it, beats the defenseman, which shouldn't happen, one-on-one, and scores, and that's where they're beating them. They're catching them in that ferocious forecheck, and then both teams are playing this flip the puck out and try and get on the forecheck, right? Flip it out and hope. And so far, Vegas is beating him at that game. What I would say about all 3 games is that Carolina's come out and I thought played better at the beginning of all 3 games. In the last 2, they've held Vegas to like 2 shots or 3 shots in the first period, and they've been trailing in all 2 of those games. And last night, then, they took one stupid penalty, too many men on the ice. They get scored on, and then all hell broke loose. Marner throws another blind backhand into the front of the net, hits a Carolina guy, goes in, and then we have chaos.
But that was the other weird. That was the other weird thing about it is the series also has how many more fluky goals that between between the overtime winner, between the goal Stone scored in the previous game, and the two of the first four goals that Vegas scored tonight, which were complete flukes. Like, this has just been the weirdest series. And yes, it was the right move to pull Freddie Anderson after two periods and put in Bussy, who played fantastically well.
Stopped a penalty shot.
Yeah, I mean, he's amazing. A penalty shot and a couple of breakaways. Like, he's fantastic.
Well, he's a bigger goaltender and more athletic than Freddie Anderson. So
yeah, was half his age. But what I'd say is he's of those four goals, you could like, I've never seen two goals that were completely not the goalie's fault and nothing he could have done about it, and two goals that were completely the goalie's fault.
Yeah.
Like, and nothing in between. So I feel like they made the right decision in pulling him because of those two softies.
Yeah.
But wow, the two fluky ones, like, how does that?
Well,
the first Marner goal was, I've never seen anything as crazy as that.
Well, it's just a bad bounce. It's just crazy. Yeah. And then it just, like I said, all hell broke loose. And like I said, the Knights are winning the dump out and the chase to the puck game right now in the neutral zone and outplaying. And I'll say this, I don't think Slavin's had a great series, right?
Howden beat him on that one-on-one.
We've talked about Slavin at the Four Nations and at the Olympics, of how great he was as a lockdown defenseman and how terrific he's played. I think he's played fairly, compared to that, I think he's been subpar. Like, he's been under what you would suggest he's capable of, and he's got to turn around because Miller didn't play in the second overtime. I know it was short, but didn't get a shift because he's hurt. Right. And they also lost Carrier, who's one of their best defensive forwards. So Carolina could be in tough here now, down 2-1. They need to squeak one out here in Vegas on Tuesday night. Hopefully the extra night of rest will give them a chance to get healthy and both teams are going to need it after last night. That was just a bizarre game. Bizarre game. It was just crazy, and are you gonna be okay if
Marner wins the Conn Smythe?
No, I'm not.
You knew where I was going with that.
I knew we were gonna go, and I knew this was gonna come up eventually because I have been ferociously harassed by my hockey friends down here in Florida. By the same guys a year ago or 2 years ago were saying the core four suck. You need to get rid of them. Marner, Matthews. Nylander, Leafs suck. What they do, and they can't do anything. And now Marner's gone to a better situation, a better, deeper team. He isn't being relied on in the same ways he was in Toronto. And we have the stats. In 9 years, he scored 10 playoff goals. He's got 10 this year alone. Was he and I've said this before, was he the only problem in Toronto? No. Lots of it to go around from him to Matthews to Nylander to Tavares to the management to everybody. Plenty of go around, but he's gone to a better situation. But, it didn't work for 9 years. These are the same people that would say if we'd brought them back and the Leafs had the season they just had, I don't think it would have changed the way they played this year. They've been going downhill the last couple seasons in their defensive play. So
but he's going to win the Conn Smythe.
If they win. Let's pump
the brakes. I think he's going to win the Conn Smythe. Irrespective, I think he's going to win the Conn Smythe. He could be one of those guys that wins it from a losing team.
Who cares? Then he can have the Conn Smythe. He can't raise the cup, but whatever.
Okay. Because they're not going to give it to Brett Howden, and they're not going to give it to Carter Hart. Those guys could play lights out for the rest of the series, and based on the controversy around them, there is no way the league is giving them the Conn Smythe. Either of them.
No, absolutely. I think Howden could have won it if Marner didn't have the game he just had last night.
No, Brett Howden is not winning. Brett Howden could score a hat trick from now until the end of the series. He's not going to win the Conn Smythe. Gary Bettman understands.
Okay, we got it.
Gary Bettman understands that this guy is a lightning rod for criticism.
Marner, good on him. He's had a great season, great series. You know what? He's in a good situation. But as a Leaf fan, it's painful to watch, and it will be. And if it happens, it happens. And this might be the last season of the Aiming Five Hole podcast. Might be the ending of my hockey career. But whatever.
Wait till we come back next season. We come back next season as the the Mitch Marner Appreciation Podcast.
No, it's not. You know what? Look, it had to happen. He had to go. You look at it, the year before, I was saying get rid of Nylander. And again, I'll say what I've said before is that the Leafs were painted into a corner. And the other thing people are online of saying, oh, was this a great trade to trade Marner for Watt? Well, it wasn't a trade. It was what the Knights
making
were
the
willing
best
to
out of
give
a
up,
terrible situation,
of a bad situation, and not getting called out for tampering. So that's what it was all about. And both teams were unsure if they would win the case of tampering. So they agreed to make this swap and let Marner go because he wanted to go. Again, my issue with Marner is the way he went, because they tried to sign him. They offered him more money than Matthews is. He said no. They tried to trade him twice. They tried to trade him to Colorado for Rantanen. He said no. When Rantanen went to Carolina, and Carolina then found out that Rantanen didn't want to stay, they offered him up to Carolina, and he said no. So ironically, no matter where he would have been, he might have been in the final. So and then he left after the season after having a terrible playoff. So
Yeah.
he had to go. Like, whatever, get over it. I tell you, and I've said this before, the Toronto derangement and the Mitch Marner derangement syndrome from non-Leaf fans is incredible. My buddies are having a lot of fun with memes with me, and we're going back and forth, these angry memes, but whatever. They all know who they are, and I'm sure I'm going to hear about this on Tuesday at hockey. But,
well, there were some players in Vegas last night wearing their fans like near the glass in Vegas last night wearing Leafs Marner jerseys, and one of them was holding a sign that says, "This is my therapy."
yeah, I saw that. So whatever. Hey, look, good on him, but I'm still hoping, and I don't think the series is over. If Carolina can pull out, if Carolina had won last night, I would have said the series was over and Carolina was winning this in 6. And that's what I originally had called. Unfortunately, bad bounce, bad goal. It's the other way, but if they can win and then win at home and they're up 3-2, this isn't over. They have outplayed Vegas at times, and they've played disastrously at times. So this series can still, as a pick'em as far as I'm concerned.
It's a pick'em.
It's likely going 7.
And look, we've said a couple of times in a few different ways that this has not been consistently the best played Stanley Cup final we've ever seen, but I challenge you to find a more entertaining Stanley Cup final in the last 10 or 15 years. This is fun to watch.
The ironic part, though, is that game last night went to double OT. The guys I'm talking about ribbing me and going all over me went to bed after the first overtime because I didn't hear a peep out of them out of the second overtime. Really? When they scored, I didn't hear crap out of them. I heard out of one. Sean, you know who you are. You're a true Knights fan. Good for you. The rest of them must have went to bed. But to your point, there's no way I can go to bed. This is exciting. It's weird and odd and totally out of character for both these teams, but it's exciting.
Fun to watch.
Like, it's
so
fun.
To
like
watch.
The train wreck that game was something you couldn't turn away from, especially once Carolina scored, and they scored 3 goals in 32 seconds or 59 seconds. It was crazy.
This is the most bonkers.
It was just
ever.
Nuts, and it was fun, and it was like, wow, but it's cool. So, but it begs the question: who starts Game 3 for Carolina? Does
Bussy
go to Bussy? I tend to agree with you. I think there's a change coming here. I think Bussy.
Yeah.
Now,
I think
as I said,
Bussy.
You got to hope Miller and Carrier aren't too badly injured, and the couple days rest gives them a chance to get back in the lineup. And both teams, if Carolina's going to win, they've got to clean up their defensive play and some of these breakdowns. And Vegas keeps up doing what they're doing, they'll be fine. But I still say, now I picked it Carolina in 6, but this is going 7, and this is going to be an exciting Game 7.
Well, I picked Carolina in 7. I hope that happens. Absolutely. Okay, so what else do we want to talk about before we wrap things up for today?
I think we got to talk about some of these awards because it's been a bit of a bizarre award season as far as I'm concerned.
Well, first of all, congratulations to Cole Caulfield on the Lady Byng and to Nick Suzuki for the Selke.
Both deserved. Both
non-controversial.
Non-controversial. And also we have to give it to McDavid. Maybe a bit of a controversial.
For the Lindsay.
We got the 10 Lindsay for the most outstanding player voted on by the players.
Right.
So he
So
won that
that's
today.
that can't be controversial because
Well, it
the
can't be.
players
Right. The players have
vote.
voted on him. And look, he's an incredible. How many points did he get this year? 140 points or whatever's far and away better than every player on the earth right now. As great as Celebrini has been, and Kucherov had a great season.
They've got a ways to go.
He's on a subpar team and he's doing what he's doing. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And it begs the question is, I know we said earlier that what's his name in Detroit, might not want to go to a Canadian team. But
Larkin. Yeah.
Larkin, do you think he might want to go and be second line center or third line center and play with Draisaitl and McDavid? How cool would that be? Now he
Well,
might
I
be
mean, if
making
you
too much
put
money. They
him,
have to open up a lot of cap space for him. But
yeah.
how
Well, if they get
cool
rid
would
of
that be?
Nurse, they works.
Yeah, and then they're trying to get rid of Nurse, so that would be really cool. But the three trophies for me that were really questionable. I wouldn't say really questionable. Vasilevsky, no question, he's a great goaltender, had a great career. I'm not questioning Vasilevsky. He had great numbers, 39 wins, 912 save percentage, and 231 231 goals against average versus Swayman's 31 wins, 921 and 202. And to me, it was a bit of a toss-up between the two of them, but I guess they gave it to Vasilevsky because he did. He was injured for a big part of the season, which is questioning why they gave it to him versus Swayman, who was in there
Mhm.
a lot more, and had an inferior team. But I guess Tampa Bay did go through 11 defensemen over the course of the season. So, and for those New York Islander fans out there, sorry, Sorokin had a great season, but he's the only reason why you were in the mix at the end. But he also fell off at the end, um, and his goals against average and save percentage dipped drastically at the end of the season. So it's probably why he fell out of the race.
Yeah. But
Um,
I also think, just talking about statistics, and I probably should have researched this if I had known in advance that we were going to be debating this particular award. But um, I think the voters also look a lot at goals saved above
expected,
replacement or average or
yeah,
expected.
goals above
Um,
expected.
yeah, and I think Vasilevsky had some
He did,
incredible numbers in
he
that.
did.
Like he may
I,
have led the league in that this year
I just
potentially.
question that we all said this year that Boston made it to the playoffs through smoke and mirrors, and they
Yeah,
really did on the back of Swayman.
yeah.
The Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'm not taking anything from Vasilevsky, he's a great goaltender, but up front and the amount of goals they score,
Hmm.
way more than Boston scoring. So,
Yeah,
and that's why I think Boston was more reliant on Swayman having the year he did to get where they went versus Tampa Bay relying on Vasilevsky, and that's proof by that he was injured for a big part of the season. So,
right.
but you know what? He's a great goaltender.
Okay, next.
I guess the coach of the year award, the Jack Adams Award, and again, not taking anything away from John Cooper, but was this a career achievement award because he's not won it before? How do you not give this to Lindy Ruff or Dan Muse? Lindy Ruff took the Buffalo Sabres at Christmas in dead last in the East to winning the Eastern Conference. How do you not give this man the Coach of the Year award?
Yeah, well, they did finish second in the Eastern Conference, so maybe that. But yeah, look, I
Well,
would
they
have given
finished
it to Lindy Ruff.
won their division, but yes, they finished behind Carolina by a
Yeah,
point.
they. There's no question in my mind that they overlooked him and they gave a lifetime achievement award to John Cooper, who's never won it. So any year that he does win it, you can't really begrudge it
No,
that
like I said, he's
much.
a great coach, and look, I love him as a coach. Hey, if Tampa ever wants to get rid of him, I'd love to see him in Toronto.
Right.
But and I hate to see that he's leaving Team Canada's coach. I think he should remain as the coach of Team Canada. He's sort of, you know, Captain Canada Part Two from the coaching per levels and whatnot. He's such a
Yeah.
calm, great voice behind the bench. But yeah, it was a lifetime achievement award. Let's just call it what it is, because if it's in the year in isolation, I'm sorry, you can't not give that to Lindy Ruff.
Yeah, I agree. I was also disappointed that Marty St. Louis came in fifth or sixth
Yeah, he had a great
in
season
that
too.
voting because I mean he had the youngest team in the league, and over the last 3 years, he's improved their point totals by 10, 15 points every season. They're
Yeah,
up to 106 points.
he's gonna get it one year. I'm
I hope
convinced he'll
so.
get it. He'll get it one year.
I
The
hope so. So,
the
what's the last of the
the other
awards
one
that?
that I don't love is the Norris Trophy for the Defenseman of the Year award. Werenski from Colorado
Look,
won it. Who's a great defense. We're not taking anything away from
yeah.
any of these guys. But you look at the numbers. He was +7 on a bad team. He had 81 points and he averaged about 26 minutes on the ice. Makar was +32, had 79 points and averaged about the same time on the ice. So Makar is playing about the same amount of time, yet he is 25 more goals better when he's on the ice versus when he's not on the ice. How do you not give this guy the Defenseman of the Year award over Werenski? And look at if they'd given it to Dahlin, I would have given it to Dahlin first before Werenski as well because he was +18 with similar numbers as the other two. The plus minus for me, again, if Columbus had made the playoffs, I could see this award going to him. I just don't see how you give this over Makar in just looking at the stats, if that's what you're supposed to look at.
Look, I won't argue the stats with you or any of that. I will say I watched all three games between Columbus and Montreal this season, and Werenski was by far the best player on his team in
No
all
question.
three games.
No question. And maybe that's part of it is that you look at Makari's on a great team and has a lot better players around him. But these kind of awards to me, especially when you put Norse on it, part of it is if you dragged your team into a place where they didn't get to, where they shouldn't have gotten to because you were on the team, and he didn't drag them into the playoffs, got them close. And look, we all said that they were going to be maybe part of one of the teams that be looking for the number one draft choice. So they had a better season than expected, but I just Makar, you just watch Makar play and how he drives and seeing, playoffs don't count towards this, but seeing how different Colorado's game is when he's not on the ice and how talented they are, how much he still drives the ice and drives the play. That's to me is what these awards are, and whatever.
It's funny to me that you don't even mention Quinn Hughes because
his numbers weren't anywhere close to any of these guys. I did look at them. I didn't write them down, but his numbers weren't as impressive when it comes to these type of stats.
Okay.
And again, but you know what? He's obviously
look. You can make an argument that Nick Lidstrom style that Cale Makar should win it every single year. But there are a lot of good defensemen in this league, and I don't want him to have a monopoly on it because I expect that Lane Hudson will be in the conversation for a Norris Trophy.
He will be. I'm surprised he should be on this list. He should absolutely be on this list. A lot of people would say, and I'm not one of them, say Bouchard should be on this list. He's just terrible in his own end. But whatever. So I know we probably got to go. We've probably gone way too far, but
it's okay. We're making up for a lost week.
Step back into some of the other news going on. I want to give a shout out to Jonathan Tags, who has now decided to hang up after coming back and having, if he doesn't win the Masterson's Trophy for endearment and whatnot, I don't know who will. All those years of injuries, although Landeskog is up for it as well, and then lots of years of injuries.
He's got a lot of guys who showed a lot of bravery.
But at his age, coming back after 5, 6 seasons of injuries and not being able to play and coming back, good for him and great for retirement. He'll be in the Hall someday. And
he's got the jewelry to last him a lifetime.
Absolutely.
Right?
And he's got some great memories of World Juniors, Olympics, you name it. He's done it. And congratulations to him. Great career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, one other thing to talk about, because you just brought up St. Louis and where Montreal took him out of from a coaching perspective, coaching his son's hockey. Have you seen who the Leafs are now talking to for their coaching and are going to give an interview to?
Who?
Joe Pavelski.
Wow.
And he is basically taking the same circle that Martin St. Louis is. He's coaching his kid's junior hockey team. No NHL coaching experience, no minor league coaching experience, but a fabulous, feisty, fabulous hockey player. And wouldn't that be a story of Joe
imitation
Pavelski?
Is the sincerest form of flattery,
absolutely, but
right?
that's where I say that, the Leafs are looking for, and you can argue some of these decisions they made have been eye-raising and questionable, and I'm questioning some of them. But you know what? Maybe it's what they need is this complete shakeup, and maybe someone like Pavelski could come in and go, "Hey guys," and shake the right bodies and figure this thing out.
Yeah. It's a shame they couldn't pry David Carl out of Denver. It's too bad.
He's probably getting handsomely played, and he's probably looking at that situation going, you know what, I've got a great career here. I've just signed a long-term extension. I've got a great name for myself. There's a bit of a mess going on in Toronto. Let's be honest. There's a mess. Do you
Yeah.
want to step into that mess? And you have this right now, this allure around you that you're this great coach. I'm sure he's a great coach, and he is a great coach. But you step into Toronto and this becomes a real nightmare, and they have another season like they did this year. People calling for his head after 1 or 2 seasons. It's not the right situation for him. They need somebody with a little bit more gravitas, a little bit more experience, or someone that's been there and done that in that perspective. Because that's my own personal belief. Maybe he's up for that kind of a challenge, but obviously he's going, this could be a real nightmare for me. And to move his family for that, I don't blame him.
And maybe he's wondering if Bednar is going to get fired, if he can take an NHL job without leaving Colorado.
But Sakic has said he's safe. And
he's safe. Okay.
Crazy would that be for them? You know, what he's done in Colorado. Now he's had a great team and everything, but he's a great coach. So but we'll see. Anyway,
okay.
Let's see if Game 4 on Tuesday night is anything like.
It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be entertaining.
So Game 4 is Tuesday, Game 5 on Thursday, and then Sunday for Game 6. So we will do our show next Sunday. You'll see us again next week, Monday. And I'm hoping it's over for Carolina at that point, or we're going to Game 6 on Tuesday.
Awesome.
Or Wednesday, I think it is, that following Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you next week on the Aiming 5-Hole podcast. It's great to see you again, Ryan. I'm sorry I missed you for a week.
It's been tough on me. It's been tough on me not to talk to you.
Have a good one.
Take care, Phil.
Have a good week.
You too.
We'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.